Live.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the DFO Show for this October 9th 6-game slate. I'm Brock Seguin, Dylan Berthiaume with me here. Let's just get right into it like we always do.
Yeah, relatively small slate for a Tuesday.
Yeah, shocking. But normally for me that means less goalies to confirm, but it's been a difficult day for goalie confirms. Nobody wants to talk about it yet. They'll probably all come in right now as we're going live. And
just a bunch of guys are too obvious to say anything, so
Yeah.
we have to sit around and wait.
we will confirm them on the show here. But so we'll start out in Philadelphia where the Flyers are going to host the San Jose Sharks tonight. The Sharks come in on the tail end of a back-to-back. Unconfirmed goaltender Aaron Dell is probably going to get the start tonight.
Yeah, you would
after
assume
Martin
so.
Jones went yesterday. But hopefully by the time we finish up here, we'll be able to confirm that for sure on DFO. The Sharks really have not looked like what we thought they were going to look like preseason. They picked up Erik Karlsson. That top power play unit has not scored a goal yet.
Yeah.
I stacked them on the weekend and just sat there in frustration as they continued to not score goals.
Yeah, had some chances.
Yes, but they just won't score.
Yeah.
It's weird. They just can't seem to get anything going. And then big news for Philadelphia right now, James Van Riemsdyk is out. Jakub Voracek will move to the top line with Couturier and Giroux.
Yeah.
Travis Konechny now bumps down to the second line with Oscar Lindblom and Nolan Patrick. And Jordan Wheel steps in for Van Riemsdyk on that third line. The Sharks are still loaded. The Flyers have got some really good talent, especially that top line now. Do you have any interest going either way in this game?
I really like the Sharks' second line in this one, assuming they get the matchup with Philadelphia too. If you don't know, Philadelphia, Dave Haxtell tends to match the Couturier line against the opposition's best.
Yeah.
But with a team like San Jose, where they're, at this point,
No Jor Thornton, too. I forgot to mention that.
So the Couture line at this point with Thornton out, he's just as big of a threat offensively, you would think, as the Pavelski line. So the Couturier line might actually be split between those two lines somewhat. But if the Sharks' second line does go up against Philadelphia 2 tonight, they should just run all over them.
Yeah.
Patrick and Konechny have terrible numbers without Voracek.
Lindblom's no defensive study there.
It's a greedy move, honestly, moving Voracek to the top line. You really don't need 3 play drivers on a single line. So I don't think it's going to play out well for them tonight. I think Philadelphia 1, San Jose 1 should play out pretty much a draw at even strength. And then as you just go down the lineup, it just wins for San Jose.
Yeah. Is it it all depends, too, I guess, if you look at the Sharks lineup. I mean, last year we saw Evander Kane have so much success with Joe Pavelski after the trade. Yeah. First game without Joe Thornton, they did not put him back on that line. He actually ended up getting bumped down to the fourth line as that game went on yesterday, mostly because he took some stupid-ass penalties.
Yeah.
So we won't know until warm-ups, I guess, if Evander Kane moves to that top line, which then I think obviously makes them their top line. But you're right, it could be Giroux line or Couturier line against the Couture line instead.
Yeah, but if you are playing the Sharks tonight, you're going to want to keep an eye on the lines during warm-ups.
Because we will tweet them out for sure.
Yeah, like you said, they were juggling the lines at the end of the game, and they didn't skate this morning because of back-to-back. So,
do you have any interest in the goaltenders in this matchup? I mean, obviously, we don't know for sure that it's going to be Dell. It seems very likely that it will be. I think Brian Elliott comes in at 7,800. Any interest in the goaltenders in this game?
It's kind of hard to say, to be honest. None of them really, I don't think, offer great value. I know you like Elliott. You think he's a little bit underpriced. But this game feels like a coin flip to me. So when you get to middling to high-priced goaltenders, I don't think really either are worth investing in this kind of matchup.
The really low-priced goalies tonight seem like they're in games that are going to be super high-scoring.
Yeah,
and so
but they have chances to win. Like
for sure,
Jack Campbell, Freddie Anderson.
We're indifferent on Jack Campbell tonight. That's for sure.
Well, I think the Kings can definitely win that game.
And I think that they cannot.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think there's only a few guys that are really worth paying for. Like, I don't think it's worth paying $8,400 on DraftKings to play Hellebuck in a game the Jets can easily lose. But guys like, Freddie and Jack Campbell, that's a high-risk, high-reward play there because they're going to see a ton of shots.
Ben Bishop and
they have a good game angus to win. Either of them can put up a lot of points and offer some great value at those low prices, but there's obviously some risk to them. They're not cash game plays.
I think the one reason I like Brian Elliott a little bit is just because it might be a little bit of bias that I've now just grown towards the Sharks in this last couple of days because they just seemingly can't score. I play them and they can't score, so I'll probably roll with Elliott tonight. And then PP1 of San Jose will finally go off.
Just a lot of talent and a lot of skill playing against Brian Elliott.
I do like the back-to-back, though. They are on a back-to-back on the road, so I do like Elliott in that spot a little bit. We'll move again now to Carolina, where the Vancouver Canucks and then their stud rookie, Elias Pettersson, whose price just continues to go up in DraftKings.
Better than Gretzky.
Yeah, apparently John Shannon, just thinks that he might be better than Wayne Gretzky.
How is that ever comparable?
High praise for 3 games into your NHL career, but I mean, if John Shannon's saying it. But Carolina's been off to a pretty good start. Curtis McElhinney will get his second start with the Hurricanes. Peter Mrazek has looked terrible so far. McElhinney did win his first start in Columbus. and Jakob Markstrom goes for the Vancouver Canucks. Not too many big lineup changes here, except Brandon Leipzig will play on the top line with Bo Horvat and Brock Besser tonight, giving him a little bit of value if you like the Canucks. This game, I'm a big fan of the Hurricanes. I always kind of have a lean towards the Hurricanes.
Yeah.
They drive a ton of play. They take a ton of shots. So I have a slight lean towards the Hurricanes, especially against the Canucks on the road.
Yeah.
Jakob Markstrom, not a goalie that I love. Do you have any preference in this game?
I like, it's hard to say. I can see arguments for both sides. I like Carolina 1, but at the same time, they should be matched up against the Pettersson line for most of the night. So it's kind of a bit of a wild card right now. Obviously, there's not big enough of a sample size to really go off of for Vancouver's second line just yet, but they've been very impressive early on. Good. So the Aho line could have their hands full, and what normally you might think of as a cakewalk of a matchup. And then Vancouver 1, like Horvat, Besser, I think, again, they're going to have a hard time against the Stahl line and even strength.
That Stahl line has been so good to start the year. Even from normally that Stahl line is just good from an NHL standpoint, but they've been really good from a DFS standpoint. I mean, Stahl shoot the puck like crazy. Warren Fogle went off on the weekend.
Yeah.
Justin Williams has been rock solid. I mean, even from a DFS standpoint, they've been good. But that is a tough matchup for
I do think there's room for a Vancouver power play stack as well. The Hurricanes, I think, were 8th worst in the league last year on the penalty kill, and obviously their goaltending situation, anything but solid. McElhinney's played well, but I don't know. Sharpshooting of Brock Besser, I don't know if he can stand up to that. So I think if they get a few opportunities, that power play will definitely break through. So I think if you're going to play Vancouver, the power play is the way to go.
I don't disagree, and this works perfectly because now we're going to go to Calgary and Nashville. And I read something very interesting. You just brought up the Carolina goaltending. Last year, it was terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, you had Scott Darling looked awful all year long. But now, all of a sudden, you look at Calgary. Bill Peters is in Calgary. I saw an interesting thread on Twitter right before we got live here. And it was talking about how Mike Smith's save percentage is absolutely garbage so far this year. And it's under Bill Peters. And I guess Cam Ward was talking about how under Bill Peters, like the ratio between high danger scoring chances and low danger scoring chances is like really skewed in the high danger favor. And it makes it very difficult to be a goaltender in that system. So now that could be a recipe for just disaster for Mike Smith this year if that trend continues. I mean, it's still very early. But
and I mean, the Hurricanes goaltenders were Cam Ward and
Scott Darling.
So
there's not great goaltenders.
I can see why it would be Cam Ward's interest to kind of blame it on the system of Bill Peters, right?
I mean, he doesn't look good in Joel Quenneville's system yet either, so maybe he's just not good.
For a while,
but anyways, let's get to the Calgary game. Mike Smith will get the start tonight. The Bill Peters system hasn't been pretty yet. I think his save percentage is like .817 right now. Not good at all.
Rough.
We aren't sure who's going to start for Nashville, but UC Saros started their last game, so it should be Pekka Rinne. Nashville's always hard to get a confirm out of, but maybe one day they'll figure it out and they'll help me out a little bit. But I'm expecting Pekka Rinne. Nashville looks really good early in the season like we expected them to.
Yeah.
Mike Smith hasn't looked good. If there's any truth to this Bill Peters system making it hard on Mike Smith, should we have a lean towards Nashville in this contest?
I think it depends what line you're looking at. Nashville 1 versus Calgary 1 should be the matchup at 5v5, and it's a high-event matchup that should be pretty back and forth. I got Calgary 1 getting a slight edge.
They've looked so good this year.
Yeah, but they don't, they give up basically just as much chances as they generate, just slightly less so than the Predators' top line, which is why they get the slight edge. But both lines are definitely playable in this matchup.
Yep.
Like I said, it's going to be a high-event matchup, back and forth a lot. And then obviously the power play, you got to give the edge to the Predators, especially given Smith's struggles to start the year.
And I really like Calgary, too, in this situation. I don't love that they should go up against the Backlund Kachuk line.
Yeah.
But they haven't quite been the same line that they were last year, especially without Felipe.
Yeah, for whatever reason, their numbers really drop off when Felipe isn't on that wing. I think he's kind of probably overlooked in that line.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that. Like, they'll look at that line and be like,
you wouldn't assume him to be the difference maker, but for whatever reason, it was a big deal last year when Kevin was taken off the line.
Kevin Fiala got moved to the 4th line in their last game, but he's been bumped up to their 2nd line tonight, back with Turris and Smith. Turris and Smith have played pretty well so far, small sample size this year, but they are so much better when Fiala's on that line. And when you put those guys together, Smith sees top power play unit time, and then Fiala and Turris on the 2nd power play unit.
Yeah, I think
you can pair the 3 of them together with Ryan Ellis, who still isn't very expensive, and it makes for a pretty good, small power play, like full line stack, complete with Ellis, gives you a nice bit of power play exposure to both the first power play and the second power play.
Yeah.
And Ellis just is so much cheaper than Yossi and Subban at this point. and he's just always shoots the puck a ton, blocks a ton of shots, and plays over 20 minutes.
He's really outproduced Yossi to this point in the season.
For sure.
Obviously, just been a few games, but
so that second line with Ellis is one of my favorite stacks of the night.
And I think normally it'd be a lot more difficult of a challenge against the Calgary second line, but like we said, with Frolik off of it really opens
Austin
up the door.
Czarnik is apparently not quite as good as Michael Frolik. But we will go to Colorado and Columbus now. So I wanted to skip ahead just because I wanted to talk about the Carolina goaltending system and Calgary at the same time. So let's go to Colorado in Columbus. Again, no goalie confirmed for Columbus. Should be Sergei Bobrovsky.
Yeah.
Philip Grubauer makes his first start as a Colorado Avalanche tonight. We talk about it all the time, especially if you've listened to the DFO podcast. The Avalanche are not the same team on the road as they are at home.
Yeah.
Does that mean that you're completely staying away from Colorado 1 tonight and going more towards Columbus, or are you just avoiding this game altogether?
I think Colorado 1 could be a bit of a contrarian play tonight. I don't love their matchup against the Blue Jackets top line, but as you know, Tortorella doesn't line match. At least he doesn't do any hard line matching. It really varies from game to game. So it really, they should see some time against the Blue Jackets second line, which is a bit tough at 5v5, but the third line as well. Which McKinnon should run all over Boone Jenner right now.
Now that Brandon Dubinsky is out, it helps him quite a bit.
Yeah, so I think there's still some interest in Colorado 1. Even the matchup with the Blue Jackets top line, like I said, it's got to go to Columbus's favor, but it's high event, so
there's still plenty of room for
there's room for both lines to produce tonight. But on the flip side, I really like the Blue Jackets top line. Like I said, they got a slight edge in that matchup with Colorado's first line, and any ice time they see against the second and third line of Colorado, they should just dominate. Columbus won a really good stack tonight. But like I said, Colorado won probably go a bit under the radar, and they could produce in this spot as well.
Yeah, I mean, anytime Colorado's on the road, I tend to look at the other team a little bit.
Yeah,
because,
but I think it's starting to catch up that way, right? You usually see pretty low ownership on the road. Like, people are starting to catch on to that trend. So like I said, it kind of opens the door for a bit of a contrarian play tonight.
It's so hard to even talk about Colorado 1 in this matchup too, though, just because you don't know what Torts is going to do. You have no idea who they're going to end up playing against.
Yeah.
And depending on who they draw, it changes everything.
You pretty much, when you're talking about matching up against the Blue Jackets on home, you basically just have to assume they're going to see split time against all three lines. And then, hope it works that
with
way.
No Dubinsky, that third line could just get run all over. I mean, Riley Nash is fine, but Dubinsky's been pretty good at shutting people down.
Yeah, and they just obviously don't have the speed to keep up with McKinnon and Rand. No. It really doesn't even matter if Landeskog
does anybody have the speed
or not,
which
he's questionable. Landeskog's questionable.
Right? Nope, Landeskog's in. Landeskog is
no longer questionable.
No, he was questionable yesterday. Took part of the morning skate. I guess he was flying around, ready to go. He'll be on the top line tonight. It would have been interesting, actually, because Matt Calvert was going to take his spot on that top line. Not that Matt Calvert's good, but it is his first game ever back in Columbus. And playing on that top line, he could have been a really cheap punt for whatever reason if you want to get into that. But it's not going to be the case. Let's go to the fifth game here. We got the Kings in Winnipeg. Yeah. We're totally indifferent on this game. I just am not a big fan of the Kings at all. Obviously, they're a team that, they suppress the shots against. They suppress the high quality scoring chances.
Got one of the best blue lines in the league.
Sure. But last year, the Jets were by far the best team in the NHL on home ice. Hellebuck's numbers on home ice were phenomenal. They're loaded top to bottom. So I like the Jets in this matchup. You seem to have a little bit of a lean towards Jack Campbell.
I think
obviously some upside.
6,900 on DraftKings, that's insanely cheap for a goalie whose team is probably, at worst, 40% chance of winning tonight's game. Like I said, the Kings, I think, are a bit underrated. The blue line, one of the best in the league. Even with Pearson, Toffoli, Carter is split up a little bit. You still have Carter and Toffoli together, so that second line should still be strong. Kovalchuk's great on the top line with Kopitar. And it's not just the blue line. Kopitar himself, great at suppression chances. They're going to be matched up with the Connor Scheifele-Wheeler line tonight. Still slightly in Winnipeg one's favor. But if all the matchups we've talked about tonight, a lot of high event matchups, I don't really expect that matchup to be the same. So I'm kind of avoiding that matchup.
I like Winnipeg too for that reason, because I think people could just see the fact that Jack Campbell's starting and want to go towards Winnipeg 1 when Kopitar should do a pretty good job. I mean, they'll probably try to keep them away sometimes. I really don't like Brian Little, especially in that spot with Ehlers and Laine. Ehlers and Laine did so much better last year when Paul Stastny came to the team. Obviously, he's not with the Jets anymore. He's with the Golden Knights. It's not confirmed either. It looks like Nikolai Ehlers, who finished the last game on the second line, will be back up on the second line. Yeah. And they didn't skate today, but they did skate. They just didn't run line rush. They just didn't want to tip their hand at all. Yeah, but Paul Maurice did kind of suggest that Ehlers will play on the second line with Little and Laine, which bumps Perreault down with Vasilevskiy. But Ehlers, Little, and Laine's numbers not as impressive at 5-5 as you might think. Only created 24 scoring chances per 60, 8 high
high danger chances. So I just think a lot of people are going to be on Ehlers tonight, especially if he does play on that second line.
Wait, he's only like so cheap.
Yeah.
47, I think.
And that matchup against LA2, which is where the majority of the ice time should come. They'll probably see a sprinkle against the other lines as well, but majority should come against Carter and Toffoli, and I just think that's going to be a tough matchup for them. Like you say, Jack Campbell, not obviously the most sure bet in net. So you got to love the Jets power play still. I think if you're playing this game, it's a power play stack for sure, just because the 5-5 matchup's probably going to be pretty low event for the most part.
Another second-line player in this game is Austin Wagner, rookie. He's looked very fast. That's pretty much all I really know about him in his first couple games in NHL. He's playing with Toffoli and Carter, so he gets a look in that line. Might be worth a punt option. I think he's like 2,900. So, I mean, if you're really looking for a bottom-of-the-barrel guy, might be worth a flyer at that price range. And then let's move to the most exciting, probably the highest scoring game of the night. We've got the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are allowing now 9 goals per game and scoring 10 goals per game, going to Dallas to play the Stars, who Ben Bishop's only allowed 1 goal in his first 2 starts of the season. So, I mean, it's hard not to like Dallas's top line against a team that's giving up as many scoring chances and has as bad of a blue line as the Maple Leafs do.
Yeah.
But it's equally hard not to like the Maple Leafs in this spot. I mean, they're expensive.
Yeah.
It's hard to play that top power play unit of Tavares, Matthews, Marner, Kadri, and Riley because they're so expensive. But there could be plenty of scoring chances for both teams in this game. Is this a spot where you look to game stack, or are you looking to just stack on one side? What are you leaning towards in this one?
I think, from a ceiling perspective, you're looking at one way or the other. I think the Leafs obviously offer more potential here because there is ways to fit Marner, Tavares, Matthews, Riley all in the same lineup, especially if you pair Kasperi Kapanen with Matthews, who's expected to play on the top line tonight, finished the game there, or played the majority of the game there on Sunday.
7 shots on goal, too.
Yeah, crazy. He played 11 minutes with Matthews, skated with him in practice this morning, so he'll almost certainly be on that line
3,100, obviously a great punch option. I'm sure
it really helps you fit in some Toronto stacks in your lineup tonight. But a game stack is totally viable as well. I think
it's hard because they're all so expensive.
Yeah, the Stars' top line.
The only players you want from Dallas is that top line and Klingberg for the most part.
Yeah.
Maybe punt Miro Heiskanen.
Yeah.
But
I just think it's a little bit less financially. It's a little bit less harder to fit and make it work. But as far as the matchups go, they should be pretty much even. The Dallas one against both Toronto 1 and Toronto 2. Dallas tends to split the top 2 lines at home as far as matchups go between the Seguin line and the Radek-Paxton line. So we'll see how that plays out.
Drop off from Seguin to Radek-Paxton.
Yeah, but Radek-Paxton is actually really good at suppressing scoring chances. So the game should actually be a little bit of a slower pace when that third line is on the ice. You would assume anyway. Maybe the Leafs can still push the pace with their speed. But I think the Stars top line maybe doesn't have the edge in either of those 2 matchups against Toronto 1 and Toronto 2, but just capable of putting up points as either of them. Like we said,
as soon as that power play comes,
a really high event back and forth matchup.
Let's hope it's another 7-6 game. I would love to watch the night.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit of a theme today, right? There's a lot of matchups that should be back and forth in high event and lines.
It should be a really
side, which again is why I'm not particularly interested if I'm going to play LA game because it projects to be a little bit lower event than the other 5 games on the slate.
It's funny because like you said at the top of the show, it's a smaller 6-game slate than we're used to, but it could be a crazy 6-game slate. There could be a lot of high-scoring games here.
For sure.
I personally love Dallas in this matchup. It's hard not to. The Leafs were not very good on the road last year. Anderson had I think a 303 goals against average on the road. That blue line does not look good. So I like going towards Dallas a little bit. I think that the Leafs will probably still be a little bit chalkier. It's hard. Sure. It's hard to avoid the Leafs at this point in time. The way they've played in their first.
For sure. Yeah, there's definitely a chance if you do fade the Leafs where it could just absolutely kill your chance of cashing it all.
Just like trying to avoid Boston 1 yesterday.
Yeah. Like sometimes you just have to play the chalk. Yeah,
it's for sure. But so we had a lot of people asking us about this show over the weekend. We're normally only going to do it Monday to Friday. We weren't here yesterday because of the afternoon game. Just was no time to get on. So Monday to Friday, usually around anywhere between 3:30 and 5:30, we're going to go live.
Assuming there's at least 3 games on the slate, kind of hard to really talk about or really play DFS with anything less than 3 games.
Exactly. If you guys have any questions, feel free to hit us up on Twitter before the show, before we go live. And then throughout the show, feel free to fire questions in the comment section. We're going to cut it a little bit short today because I got to go make sure I confirm all the goalies before these games start. Make sure you guys set your DFS lineups tonight. We'll be back here same time tomorrow. Good luck tonight, and we'll see you on Wednesday.
Peace.